The vacant house held an unsettling atmosphere, as if it harbored something profoundly terrifying, and the air within felt abnormal. The condition of the kitchen appeared normal. Unlike the disarray in the central room, the items in the kitchen looked antiquated and neglected. Perhaps the items in this room had ceased to function and operate. Even the drawers seemed jammed, possibly due to rusty hinges. The room was quite spacious, with plenty of space to store other items around. This is the kitchen area of the haunted house, but it seems we haven't found anything here either. Kyrie spoke again, describing the room's condition to the viewers as she swept her gaze following the handycam she directed around to capture images. This is a spacious kitchen with lots of neglected equipment. Lucelyn chimed in. She then pointed her handycam at a cabinet containing antique plates and glasses behind a glass door. The glass door of the cabinet appeared foggy and dirty. Lucelyn let go of her hand, knelt down to inspect the lower drawers. Her free hand touched the drawer handle to try and pull it open, but it seemed jammed or perhaps locked, so she immediately abandoned the idea. Lucelyn stood up again and turned to Kyrie. The woman with the pointed nose seemed to lower her guard when she realized that this place wasn't as frightening as she had imagined. Up to this point, they hadn't encountered any apparitions or unusual occurrences, and the vacant house seemed quite ordinary. "It looks like we're done here. How about we move on to another location?" Kyrie suggested when the expected ghostly sightings failed to materialize. "Okay, let's head to the bathroom." Lucelyn immediately agreed. She had no objections to what they were doing. Since they hadn't found anything noteworthy to mention or anything that felt abnormal, they walked back to the central room. Now they were looking for a door or any passage that would lead them to the bathroom. Due to the size of the central room, there were numerous hallways and doors leading to various places. This required them to conduct a search. "Where's the bathroom?" Lucelyn asked, walking around while directing her handycam around. Because she wasn't paying attention, she tripped over her own feet and fell. "Ah!" The girl reflexively cried out briefly when she fell. Seeing Lucelyn fall, Kyrie quickly walked over to her. "Are you okay?" she asked while helping Lucelyn to her feet. They were currently facing a pair of double doors that had suddenly closed earlier. "I'm fine, my knee hurts a little," Lucelyn said, wincing slightly. Her handycam was okay, even though she had accidentally bumped it against the floor. "That's why you need to be careful." "Yes, I know. Let's continue," Kyrie invited, feeling that Lucelyn was all right and there was nothing to worry about. They both stood up and were about to turn around, but they immediately reconsidered when they heard distinct footsteps. Without having to look, they knew the source of the footsteps came from behind them, where the staircase connecting the first and second floors was located. The sound of footsteps resembled those of someone wearing shoes descending the stairs. Both of them tensed upon hearing the same sound. Kyrie raised her free hand, pointing her index finger. "Wait, something doesn't feel right," Kyrie speculated, trying to determine if her hearing was accurate. Lucelyn nodded. I think I might be hallucinating, having a strange hallucination that someone is walking down the stairs." Lucelyn spoke somewhat nervously. The footsteps were calm and slow. Their sound was eerily clear since there were no other noises in the place. "That's a crazy and ridiculous hallucination, even crazier and more ridiculous because I'm feeling the same thing as you," Kyrie replied with a frightened expression. They could still hear the footsteps. "So what do we do? Should we look together?" Lucelyn offered, appearing equally frightened. Although they had only heard the sound of footsteps and not actually seen any horrifying figures yet, fear was a natural reaction. Kyrie nodded gently in response to Lucelyn's question, and they swallowed hard before turning their bodies to face the source of the sound. Whether it was Kyrie or Lucelyn, both were tense, and their hearts pounded because they could already imagine what kind of figure they would see, but they didn't know how terrifying it would be. Once again, they turned their bodies in different directions, Kyrie to the right and Lucelyn to the left. When they glanced at the staircase, suddenly, the two girls stood frozen, gazing at a woman in a white dress. Right under the stairs, a beautiful woman stood with a stiff posture, her gaze fixed directly on the two girls who looked at her in fear. A gruesome wound was visible on her neck. Blood oozed from the wound, staining her clean white dress with bright red. Her flawless facial skin was pale, and her eyes were coldly focused on both of them. The ghostly figure stopped walking when the two girls focused their attention on her. Her appearance combined beauty and horror, making her truly terrifying, and anyone who saw her would shudder with fear. The face was horrifying. Although her face showed no signs of injury, the attention of both girls was drawn to what was on her neck. Lucelyn covered her mouth, trembling, while Kyrie widened her eyes in terror. Both still reflexively aimed their cameras at the bloodied, beautiful woman. The ghostly figure grinned menacingly, her head bobbing, making them even more frightened. Kyrie took a step back with extraordinary effort. They wanted to divert their gaze from the woman, but it was as if there was an irresistible magnetic force and a magical power forcing them to keep looking at her. The ghostly figure immediately burst into eerie, high-pitched laughter, sending chills down the spine of anyone who heard it. The first to scream was Lucelyn, followed by Kyrie's scream. They were finally able to move, and they immediately turned to run. Run! Run! Kyrie screamed as she quickly took steps. From behind them, the ghost's eerie laughter was frighteningly audible, and they rushed toward the door they had entered through. When they arrived at the front door, they instinctively pulled on the handle as hard as they could. Unfortunately, the door was locked and didn't budge at all. Why is this happening? Why won't it open? Lucelyn panicked, trying to force the door open with both hands. Kyrie also attempted to pull the door, but it remained locked. In their panic, they had forgotten Kyrie's earlier suggestion of exiting through the window. Fear and panic had emptied their minds, or perhaps they had genuinely forgotten. "I don't know, use your strength," Kyrie shouted while still trying to pull the door open, but the door remained firmly locked. Despite their desperate efforts, the door would not open. Ignoring the voice, they continued to do their best to open the door helplessly. The door was actually locked or sealed by something invisible. "The door is really locked, I can't open it," Lucelyn shouted while continuing to try to pull the door using both hands. "Keep trying," Kyrie shouted. The two of them continued to try to open the door. But whatever they do, none of their efforts will be successful. The door remains tightly locked.